Good afternoon. Welcome to the very first edition of Southland Chamber TV. I got my good friend here, Senator Mike Hastings, the 19th Senatorial District. And I say my good friend because from the day he came into office, we've been communicating and back and forth. And so that was back in, you were elected in 2012, took office in January 2013. Hometown boy makes great. So, Senator, it's great to have you here today.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks so much for helping us launch this new show. And this is really all about you and the district and what we're trying to get done here in the great state of Illinois. But we would be remiss if we didn't start off with a little bit of your history, if you don't mind. And it's pretty short history, even though you got a birthday coming up this week, October 6th. Born in 1980.
Yeah.
You realize where I was in 1980? I think I was south of the border somewhere, but I can't really talk about it right now. But you're a man.
I hope you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah, well, I probably was. I was working on my tan. But anyway, it's just so great to have you here. Born in Tinley Park, great family. Your mom, Mary, and Kyle Hastings, they're still around.
They are.
Right? And doing great things. I know your dad's the mayor here in Orland Hills, and he's doing a great job. You got 5 or 6 brothers and sisters?
5 brothers and sisters. So
wow.
We're like the Brady Bunch. We have my older brother Kyle, who's a trustee in Orland Hills. My younger brother Patrick, who's an Army officer. He's deployed to Korea right now. And then I have twin sisters, Kate and Molly, who one's at ISU, which you're familiar with. My other sister flies the Friendly Skies with United Airlines.
Oh, wow.
And then my other sister, Kim, is a civil engineer. So she's been on the project teams for the Jane Byrne Expressway, the intermodal. She's the really smart one of the family. But we're really proud of my brothers and sisters. They're awesome people.
I tell you, that comes from great parenting. I know that.
Yeah.
And your children will tell you that as your little son grows up. How old is your son?
So I have a 7-month-old at home, and we get very little sleep during night. So if you see the bags underneath my eyes, for all the parents that actually watch this, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So.
And your beautiful wife, Katie, she takes care of everything, right?
Yeah,
that's the best.
I married up and out of my league.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that at all.
Well, we are in October, so is she going to take the baby trick-or-treating? Is that going to be part of the deal?
We have that. So we went yesterday to Party City in Orland Park. We actually patrionize our local businesses a lot.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yes, there's a sponsorship for you.
Yeah.
But we bought our Halloween costumes yesterday, and we tried it on little Mikey, and he wasn't a big fan. But I think later in life he'll learn to appreciate those pictures.
Is it okay to tell your neighbors how you're going to dress up? Or are they going to be surprised?
They'll be surprised too. It'll be good. I was just happy I fit in the Halloween costume. So.
All right, well, enough of that probably. But, since your time in office and before that, I'd like to hear a little bit about, because we're coming up on November, a time that we really focus on our veterans, and we should focus on them all the time. We know that. But do you want to tell us a little bit about your history from the time when you went to your training and education and with the military, and then officer school, U of I, all that good stuff? Can you give us the rundown?
I had the awesome experience of going to West Point. It's the United States Military Academy up in New York. I was there when 9/11 happened. So when you're a junior in college, the first day you step into class, you incur a 5-year service obligation to the military upon graduation. That was in August of 2001. In September, obviously we all know what happened in September 2001, that's when I knew that my service in the military would be wartime service.
Wow.
Even the first class we went into, I'll never forget, Major Nate Allen was his name. He told me, he goes, your whole class will deploy to war. And about 90% of our class, when they graduated, we've deployed, whether it be Iraq or Afghanistan or the Horn of Africa. So that's my generation. Really interesting time to serve in the military. I was lucky enough to have a great group of men and women to serve with. So I served in Iraq, from the Iranian borders to the Syrian borders to the Turkish borders, all the way down to the Kuwaiti borders, and we trained the Iraqi army. And as a 26-year-old young man going around the country, it was a very humbling, wild experience, and it made me grow up really fast, along with a lot of other young people.
So that prepared you for a life in the Illinois State Senate, then?
Well, I guess you could say that, but
without guns.
I can say this: there's a lot of striking similarities between serving in the military and serving in the government. And a lot of the lessons I learned in the military, I was able to apply when I went into public service. I've served now my country, I think going on, I think it's 18 years. So from the age of 17 to 35, it's been a lifetime dedicated to the service of my country, and I'm very proud of that. Some people hold that against you, saying, "Oh, you served your country, you're a politician." You know what? We need more people that are willing to serve. Our communities, our state, and our country need it more now than ever.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your service, sir.
I wouldn't change it. Everyone says thank you for your service. You don't got to thank me. I did it on my own accord, and I had a lot of fun, and I met a lot of great people doing it.
Well, I know I've been to your office in Springfield, and you've got some great memorabilia down there. And I challenge everybody should come down to Springfield to see you when you're, in session and visit with you and just say hi. But now that we're in that season, the haunting season, Halloween, but then we got an election coming up. I'm going to make one prediction for the election this year, if you'll allow me on our first show.
Sure.
I think you're going to win.
That's great. You saved me $1 million. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I think you're good to go. So other than that, anything that you see on the horizon, what are we, regardless of the election, and I'm an avid proponent of vote. Mm-hmm. Please vote. Educate yourself. Get out and vote. Right, wrong, or indifferent, you need to have your voice heard one way or another. And you need to understand the candidates. But after the election, I think, is when it really matters. Whatever we get. But now, you moving forward in the great state of Illinois, you have to work with whatever we have, right? Mm-hmm. Whatever it lays down. You were a strong advocate of a lot of things in the past few years. What do you see when we get into the next year here? How do you see this whole budget thing get done? Education funding, which I know you're a strong proponent of, mental health services. So what would your crystal ball, we can get the other ball out, but what do you see for 2017 and on?
I think November will be telling how the state's going to move forward in the next 2 years. So obviously one of the most important races, I think, is the comptroller's race. It's between Susana Mendoza and Leslie Geisler-Munger, who's our current comptroller right now. Most people don't know what the comptroller is. It actually affects the disbursement of funds throughout our state. And the comptroller has the ability to determine where the monies go, and what the priority level for that money is. And personally, I think that the way we've been dispersing money right now, we've been picking winners and losers without transparency. I do think that Susana Mendoza would do a fine job as a comptroller and making sure people get paid on time, and then are able to keep control of what our bills are. There's some other statewide races that are going on across the region. So in Southern Illinois, we got Kate Clunan. She has a Republican opponent. Up in Des Plaines.
That's not Southern Illinois.
That's Southern. I mean, South I-80 sometimes. But there's
a lot of people think
there's a lot of contested races, and there's an unprecedented amount of money that's being spent on these races, millions and millions of dollars. And one guy can write a check for the entire election cycle, and then other people have to raise it through grassroots efforts. And, for me, I always say, you can't complain unless you vote, and who you vote for is what you're going to get. And, that's why I always encourage people, get out and vote. Make sure you take part in the democratic process here. And, for me, obviously being a Democratic senator, I work with, Democrats and Republicans. That's what I take great pride in. And, you want to elect somebody who's going to be able to work with everybody, not just one party.
Exactly. So I know that you had some important votes on education funding this past cycle. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me a little bit about how you make those tough decisions? Because, when we look at the universities and colleges in our district here, it's important.
I think the most controversial bill was the education funding reform bill for the state of Illinois.
Exactly.
And when you look at how it would shape out with winners and losers, school districts across the 19th legislative district, we would have winners and then we would have losers. In my perspective, I don't ever want to rob Peter to pay Paul in education funding. I think everybody should be winners. Under the bill that was proposed, schools like Andrew High School, Sandburg High School, Stagg High School would stand to lose $7 million in general state aid, and that money would be redirected to somewhere across the state of Illinois. I'm not going to vote for my schools in which I used to represent those schools. I'm not going to go home and be like, hey, took $7 million from our schools and gave it to Southern Illinois. Hope you don't mind. I take a lot of pride in the fact that we were financially responsible and we made a lot of tough decisions, but our schools are in a good financial position, at least in District 230. schools that are struggling, like in the Lincoln Way district, we would have took money away from them too. I'm not going to vote for that.
Well, you're a former school board member, right?
Right.
Isn't that how you cut your teeth in elected position?
I learned a lot. It's the toughest volunteer job I think you'll have in the state of Illinois. But the good news is that through the budget impasse, we were able to pass an education funding reform package, and every school in our district, on average, will receive $219 more per student, and that's a lot of money for our district. And I know that our schools will get that money, they'll spend it responsibly, and we'll see good results from it. So I'm excited about that.
Good. Well, appreciate the work that you do. I didn't want to have it all be the legislative cycle, but there's some other stuff, and I think there are some things that you're proud of in the last couple of years. One thing that I noticed that you were very supportive of, the South Suburban Airport Initiative. You want to say a couple words on that about what, because not everybody still supports the South Suburban Airport like we do.
I think that Illinois as a whole, we're a growing state, although most people won't acknowledge that. People want to come here because of the transportation hubs, the great education facilities, and great jobs that we have here in Illinois. Chicago, on the other hand, isn't getting any bigger in terms of land size-wise. So eventually,
we're landlocked.
It's going to continue to push south. And I think that having a transportation hub in the south suburbs is important. That includes mass transit, that includes air, that includes a lot of different forms like intermodals. So in my second year in office, we passed Senate Bill 20, which laid the groundwork for the infrastructure of the airport. We actually broke ground on it. The budget impasse sort of stalled the process right now. But eventually over time, if you look at things in the long term, 40, 50, 60 years down the road, population is going to continue to grow and push out from the Chicagoland area, and the south suburbs is going to need to have something eventually to make people be able to get around a lot more conveniently.
So I'm going to make sure that we don't breach any protocol, but I have for you today, this is a South Suburban Airport lapel pin.
Nice.
Now, this I'm going to wipe the dust off. I've been on this project for over 25 years, and a lot of people that have been involved in the South Suburban Airport have done this. So this signifies that airport runway and getting that thing going.
See that right there?
And so you can probably wear that because you were a supporter of it.
Yes, I sponsored the bill.
Yes, so thank you very much. The state's continuing to buy land. There's a justifiable need. The Federal Aviation is working their process, and so it's quietly moving forward. And we're hoping that down the road, when we're still alive, we can see this. Now, you'll be alive. I may not be, but I can remember years ago when we brought this young kid out who wanted to be a pilot and said, "You'll be the first one to fly out of here." Now on his 98th birthday, he can be the first one to jump out of a plane from there, maybe. But anyway, thanks for doing that, and I wanted to share that with you. I know transportation is really, really important. I noticed that you got the Illinois Public Transit Authority or Public Transit Association's Legislator of the Year award this year. Congratulations. I'm a proud and a big supporter of public transportation. Our people need it. So thanks for doing that. That's neat. Was there one thing that made a difference that you got that recognition this year?
I think there's two things. First and foremost is myself and my state representative, Al Riley, who I work hand in hand with. We were able to pass a $400 million bonding authority for the Regional Transportation Authority. It allows them to keep their lights on, keep moving, which is a great thing. Especially during this time right now, they can actually have operating expenses. The second thing is compressed natural gas buses. I'm a big proponent of clean transportation. CNG buses is a part of that equation. I'd also like to see the state of Illinois and our regional transit authorities to start moving towards all electric buses. We saw it in Moline. That's where I was out at getting the award for the Transit Association. I really think that this is the future. If we could take care of our planet, that's our moral obligation as a government official. So I'm really excited about it, just as well as I'm excited about the South Suburbs.
Yeah, well, I think we've got the CNG initiative going here. We've got Pace did it. Homewood Disposal has their equipment now on CNG. You've got Ozinga Concrete doing it.
Oh, yeah.
So they are leaders in this green initiative, and those are some pretty big players here in the Southland. So it only makes sense, and so thanks for making that happen.
We created, I think, 100 new jobs in Markham in the South Suburban area.
Yeah.
New bus fueling stations right there. It's a first-class site.
Yeah. Well, it was designed and built by somebody.
Drinking from his coffee cup right now.
I can't talk about that, but
yeah, cheap promo for. I think we had Party City and Tower Contracting today. So I don't get paid for this, but they're good community partners.
Well, that was a great initiative, and I think as they continue to move forward and get, now they need more buses. Obviously, that's the next hiccup, and that's why we need to get a state budget. But all that aside, you've got important things going on this week. You got a birthday coming up.
That's right.
On Thursday, I believe, on the 6th of October.
36 years old.
Holy cow.
Yeah. The last 6 years have been a whirlwind for me. Most people don't know this. I said I got married, I had a child, I bought a new house. I graduated from law school, won my re-election, passed the bar exam, opened a small business, as well as, God knows, we passed a few laws, sponsored a few things, and I'm excited for what the next 36 have to offer. And I know that we'll continue to work hard to accomplish what we set forth, we told people.
Well, in a time when we're not always proud of the people we have in office, I can truthfully say that from the Southland perspective, we appreciate what you do. We appreciate having you here since day number one. And since we don't get panned for this show, well, we might. But, this is really what it's all about. And you and your colleagues and everybody on both sides of the aisle and in all aspects, we have to work hard to make this state better. So we have a lot of things going on in the Southland. I know you've been talking about it, but infrastructure, logistics, manufacturing. There's a lot of manufacturing. I wanted to bring up one last item. I know you got to go, but some news came out recently that's disturbing because Governor State University, GSU, our only four-year university in the Southland, has had to cut the cord with our SBDC and our international trade centers. And that's not GSU's fault. They're not getting the funding mechanism that they need to continue those programs. We had an award-winning international trade unit there, one of the few in the state. And with our SBDC, which is our very, very helpful incubator type of situation for small business development. Do you see anything in the future? Because they're saying, if we don't get $100,000 input by the first of the year, we just have to shut it down. And so Mary Ma, who's from China, who's awesome, and all the other people, Priscilla and Lauren and the team there, I'm disappointed in that, but we have to pick up and move forward. So any thoughts, is anybody talking about that around the district that you've heard of, or what are we going to do for them?
I'll just tell you, first and foremost, you got to have a stable budget situation to start providing universities these resources that we provided for a long time. I've actually visited that. It's a great facility over at GSU. The way they were working internationally was awesome. I just know that for the next 2 years, because of political ideologies, of our governor, we're going to have a rough go at it if things don't go a certain way after the elections. And I just try to prepare my people for that. The south suburbs as a whole, we're going to continue to grow. 27% home growth. We have Borg Warner in our district, which is one of the leading producers of parts for transmissions. They're going to be hiring on 100 new people. We got another group named Windalco who's going to open a call center in Mokina, another 150 new jobs. I look at it this way: is that if we end up losing an international trade center, like the one that was at GSU, I know that the jobs that are coming into our district will definitely be there for people to work at, earn a good living, earn a decent wage, and they can live in an awesome community. And to me, because they're a victim of the budget impasse, I know that we're going to win in so many other areas that our area will still be. And I take pride in this too. It's the number one place to raise your kids in America, according to U.S. News and World Report. We take great pride in that, and we're going to continue to work for that. So
I had the good fortune just to tour Panduit the other day. So when you talk about an international impact and a manufacturing facility that's creating a lot of great jobs, high tech jobs, 2 locations. It's pretty cool. So we have a lot going on, and so later this week, I don't know if you're going to get a chance to stop by on Thursday, but we've got Manufacturing Day.
Oh yeah, Bloom.
At Bloom
High School.
Yeah, so that's a great thing. And then we've got 20 different companies engaged in talking to the students. 300 students coming out that day. So that's a collaborative between the OAI and the South Suburban Mayors and Managers and Reggie Greenwood and the Chamber and I. Trying to make sure that we're keeping manufacturing in the forefront of the Southland. And really, there's a lot of good stuff there. And all our community colleges are picking up. They're doing their part, as long as we can keep it happening. So I appreciate your time here today.
Yeah, thanks for
Senator.
the lapel pin. Too.
Yes, there's not a lot of
it's under the
financial
gift limit, which
yes,
is good.
it is.
So,
It's
by the rules.
and I've got 3 more if you need them. I'll give one to Sandra too. But I just appreciate your time, and I appreciate what you do and the commitment you make. So thank you, my friend.
I'm proud to serve, and moreover, I'm proud of the South Suburbs. We're going to continue to grow. It's going to be a first-class place to live, and it's always going to be that way as long as I'm here. At least I hope so.
Good.
So
Well, let's keep it on going.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
I appreciate
you.
you.
Thank you.